Hello, 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 Halifax region. Excited to be working with you guys for the next hour and a half, talking all about Gen AI for educators. We have a couple of your very own here with us, and we'll get to introductions in just a second. But before we do, I think, Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you to give a land acknowledgement, please.
Perfect. Thanks, Michelle. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I'm presenting today from Mi'kma'ki, which is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. The treaties of peace and friendship cover this territory. We are all treaty people.
Right. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Yeah, so just to introduce myself first, my name is Jeff Henniger. I'm a grade 5 teacher, and I'm a virtual facilitator working with Logix Academy as well. And I'm joined by our main presenter.
That's me. So cool to have you. Yes, Jeff with Halifax Region and also a facilitator with us here at Logix Academy. So I'm Michelle Armstrong. I'm the director of events. I'm based in Calgary, which is Treaty 7 territory, and thrilled to be here with you guys. We also have Chris with us, but Chris, I wonder if maybe I'm going to hold tight before we get into official introductions of you. I definitely want to shout out those of you that are watching us. Thanks for being here live. If you are here live, let us know in the chat what grade do you teach and what subjects, and then that way we can help guide this training just for you. All right, so whether you're joining us live or you're watching the recording, this resource right here is full of gold. Either take a picture of that QR code or type in that bit.ly link, but that's going to get you all of these slides that you will be able to have for later. Just a quick little background on us, Logix Academy. We are the STEM and robotics provider to education across Canada, and we're partners to all of these big players, and they allow us to come in and do this work we do. This particular workshop is thanks to our partnership with Google Canada, specifically this gal, Sandy Curry, who's probably watching the recording. Hello, Sandy, and thank you. If it weren't for her initiative, we wouldn't be able to do this work. And it's such important work in this age of AI. So thank you, Sandy. Okay, couple last things just about Logix, and then we're going to get over to Chris. We run all sorts of free programming thanks to our funding partners. And just last Saturday, we ran a full virtual Google Summit where we ran 9 different Google workshops on all things AI. So we're going to give you some of that information today, but there's so much more over at our website. You can register now and you're going to get all 9 of the recordings. And there's one I have to give a particular shout out to. There was a whole AI workshop looking at activities we can do with students safely. That particular workshop, if you watch that before the 15th of this month, we're doing a Chromebook giveaway. And so anybody who watches that figures out how to enter the draw. I believe, Jeff, you know how to enter that draw, but don't tell anyone. They have to watch the recording, but they could be entered to win a Chromebook. Okay, and we have all sorts of student programming, but those links that Jeff has also put in the chat are going to get you to all sorts of goodness. Okay, now we get to go to Chris. So glad you're here, Chris. Why don't you give an introduction and how did this all come to be?
Well, my name is Chris Jocek, and I'm with HRCE, and I am very pleased to be here today, kind of just as an observer and representative for the technology integration lead team here in Halifax Regional. My role focuses on AI, and so I am very pleased to have been put in touch with Michelle at Logix and Sandy at Google, and then they rolled in Jeff, and I'm like, this is great. Kind of had been in touch with everybody before, but we were able to, in a very short time, facilitate a date for this workshop that was going to take place here in the next few minutes. And I just want to give out a shout out to Logix as well, because I did sign up for that the weekend webinars, and was unable to attend, but I'm going to watch those some of those recordings for sure. So
nice.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, there was
Um,
lots of goodness. Hey, Chris, before we go on to your next slide, I've got to ask you, that is a great profile picture. How did you pick that profile picture?
Yeah, it is. It de-ages me by about 10 years, I would say. That's why it's so great. I like it too. This is before Banana was around. One of the earlier Google versions when everybody was going kind of with the Japanese anime was the trend. I'm like,
Okay.
well, I have to try that. And that's what it came up with one of my headshots, and I'm kind of like, I can go with that.
Looks
Uh,
great.
yeah,
Early stages of AI, but still
yeah,
awesome.
that's about 6 months ago.
It's so early. Awesome. Well, hey, Chris, I know you want to give some just some info just about the guidelines at Halifax Region. So yeah.
All right, absolutely. Just real quickly, this is an infographic for Halifax regional teachers and to know kind of a guide for where do we start with AI literacy, what grade level? Well, it starts in primary, but it goes all the way through to grade 12. Looks completely different, but we need to start spreading and having those discussions with our students as early as primary. And then along the way, you're also educating the parents because they're in this journey with us together. We move to the next column, which the next row, which is AI-led experiences with teachers. And we want to kind of say that starts around grade 4. Maybe grade 3, maybe some teachers are comfortable with grade 2, having AI as on the front of the screen at the classroom, and those experiences could be led by the teacher as early as approximately grade 4, but then continuing through to grade 12. And then where do we move into AI assisted learning experiences? Based on our region with the privacy policies, it's going to start around grade 7 where most of those. Now again, that's a ballpark because there are some tools that are open for our students, such as Canva AI, where students as soon as they have access to their Chromebook can use that. So again, all of these are guidelines. It's not policy. It's just a guideline for best case.
Excellent. Love that. And throughout this whole broadcast, I know we're going to have Jeff Henniger here with us to give guidance on appropriate tools. But really cool to hear Canva AI is available. And then, yeah, you've got some more guidelines, I think.
Yeah, not to overwhelm everybody with guidelines, but this is the HRCE AI guidelines for both students and teachers, as it says at the top there. It's a one-page guideline, not a heavy document. This has recently been updated. We have 5 key principles that we want to emphasize with both our teachers and our students, and that is AI, using it ethically, making sure that we're using it in safe manners, watching for our well-being, such as privacy and data protection, focusing on AI literacy with academic integrity in place, and always be mindful and critical of the products that AI is producing. That's it. That's our guidelines in a nutshell.
Yep. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, with that, Chris, I think that you're going to be joining us backstage. Before we send you back there, anything else for the good of all?
No, I'm looking forward to learning from you folks.
All right. Love it. Okay. Well, Jeff, you can put Chris backstage and it'll just be you and me. We also have another Jeff out there, Jeff Hunter. Welcome. Glad you're here, and post it in the chat. There's a bunch more of you out there too. Let us know in the chat if you are here, and what you teach and what subjects. If you don't see the chat box there, it could be you need to just take a look at your profile, your YouTube profile, and just say, I need to create a channel. And that's going to give you access to post in the chat for us. All right. Well, with that, Jeff, this actually was our plan. Until this morning when I decided Jeff is going to railroad the plan, which is awesome. Our plan is we are going to start talking about just a really cool Gen AI for Educators course. And we're going to dive into prompting basics, foundations, and just some cool ideas for you all to use. Then that's when Jeff's going to hijack things with some awesomeness. He's going to dive into Gemini. You're going to do some gems. You're also going to look at Gemini inside Google Classroom. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So let's get rolling. Eric Lee is here. So we've got a couple high school. This is good. All right. Whether you're out there and you are going to post in the chat for us, or just think in your head, out of 1 to 5, what is your comfort level with generative AI? And I'm going to put this full screen here. Take a look at this list. And Jeff, I'm going to be asking you this as well.
Ooh.
If you are here joining us, let us know in the chat, out of 1 to 5, what's your comfort level with AI? Are you like, ooh, super like afraid, not comfortable? All, yeah, sort of comfortable is a number 2. You're using it personally, kind of getting into that more moderately dabbling in school, or yeah, getting super comfortable all the way to expert. So on a scale of 1 to 5, where do you sit with your level of AI? And I see, thank you, Jeff. You are a 3. Ooh, a 3, 4 for Rebecca. Awesome. Jeff, where would you put yourself?
I think I would say in the 4 or 5, because I am doing some sharing of with other teachers, and I am kind of integrating it into my workflow. So definitely somewhere in that area. How about you?
Yeah, I think I would say the same thing, sort of 4 or 5, certainly uncomfortable sometimes. And, you know, I like specifically, we didn't call anyone an expert here. With 5, I'm comfortable, but I certainly know there's so much to learn. So not an expert at all. Awesome. Okay. So we've got mostly 3s, 3.5s, 4s. This is great. Quite often when I'm doing this workshop, I'm working with like the 1s and the 2s. So I might fast track things a bit. If I'm going too quick, don't hesitate to slow me down. Let me know in the chat. Same thing, Jeff. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to jump in at any point. So let's get rolling.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if people have questions they want to throw in the chat, I can pass them off to Michelle so she can zoom in on your questions if that helps too.
Perfect. Okay. So the whole inspiration for all of this work that we do with Google Canada is based on one of the very first generative AI courses for educators, and it's a Grow with Google course. We're not going to dive into the course right now, but we do want you to know that it's there. It would take you about 2 hours. It's an asynchronous course, but the QR code is there that gets you to the course. There's also a link that I think Jeff's going to put into the chat for you.
Yep.
To give you just a general overview of this course, when you log in, you do need a Google account to log in. It's going to save your progress. So you can use your HRCE. I guess it's your G. How do you pronounce your G? Yes. Any
GNSPES. Yeah. Genespes or GNSPES?
Genespes. I think that's what Chris mentioned. Okay. So you can use your Google account for work, or you can use a personal account. Either one will get you into the course. Thank you. And what I love about the course, it's going to function kind of similar to what we're doing with this workshop. We're going to have some kind of talking, some learning, just like the course has some reading and learning. But then the cool part is the course gives you actual prompts and says, okay, now go and try this. And it doesn't say go and try this in Gemini. It says go and try this in Gemini or Copilot or Claude or whichever tool you use. It's not about the tool. It's about the concept. So just like today, we're going to learn a bunch. We're going to try a bunch. Most importantly, we're going to then look at all of our outputs and really think critically about like what is going on. So I'm going to just pop over to the course very quickly, just so you can get an idea of some of the things you're going to find in here. So like I mentioned, your progress. Oh, goodness me. Let's get started, shall we? I thought I was on that page. Perfect. Here is the course. So when we're in the course, you'll see that it gives me the progress, how far I've gotten. And then it tracks what I've completed, what I haven't completed. But I want to just highlight some of the topics. So basics, how do we write a prompt? Fair enough. For some of you, might be too basic for you, but still worthwhile to check it out. We could jump right into, here's some ways you can differentiate. Here's some ways you can save time, et cetera, et cetera. This whole section, responsible use of AI, and then all sorts of next steps. And then there's a certificate that you can also get. But that, in a very, very, very quick nutshell, is the inspiration for this workshop. Let's go back over here. You get a certificate. Jeff, have you done this course?
I have not completed it. I have checked it out, kind of like what you were just doing, just kind of checked it out to see what's in there, but I have not taken the time to complete it yet, though. It looks fantastic. Great resource.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it was, like I say, one of the first geared toward educators. Now, of course, there's plenty out there, but that was one of the first. Okay, let's dive into prompt engineering. Before we actually get into prompts, we got to kind of talk about, well, which tool should we use? And typically I go hypotheticals at this point, but because we have Jeff here with us, Jeff, what is the recommended tool for you guys?
Yeah, so here in HRCE, we are a Google area. So Gemini is built into our Genespes accounts. So it's the one that's the most recommended, I would say.
Okay, and Gemini for education, I'm assuming you log in with your school account, correct?
That's right. Yeah, so it's built into our workspace, Google
Awesome.
Workspace accounts.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think something that we want to make sure everybody knows, just to level set, all of these tools have their own benefits, but when we look at Gemini and Copilot, they have education counterparts. So if you're logging into Gemini with your Halifax account, your Nova Scotia account, that is almost like kind of a walled garden-ish of an AI tool. Same thing goes if you use a Microsoft school account with Copilot. That being said, ChatGPT does not have an education equivalent. And basically what that means, if you're using ChatGPT, your prompts are going out into the ether to train ChatGPT to continue learning from your prompts. Whereas if we're using Gemini for education or Copilot for education, our prompts stay within kind of our district and it is not being used to train AI. So Jeff, does that sound pretty accurate to you about the difference?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to frame it. So it is a little more, that bubble's a little bit smaller when you're into that Gemini for Education edition, because it's intended for use in the school setting.
Yeah. That being said, we're going to talk a lot about like still needing to be very safe and secure, even inside our school bubble, if you will. So hold that thought. The course itself really focuses on good prompting strategies. So it uses an acronym called PARTS, which basically helps us just be really specific when we're prompting. Garbage in, garbage out. But if we learn how to prompt carefully, we're going to hopefully see even better results. So the acronym from the course, PARTS: persona, who are you? Aim, what do you want? Recipients, who's it for? What's the theme? And this is where we get into some nuance, like what kind of style, what kind of tone? So that's your theme. And then your structure, what do you want it to look like? Bullet points, anime image, etc. So PARTS, keep that in mind. All of the prompting we're going to do is going to focus on that. Jeff, have you heard of the PARTS acronym before, or other acronyms that you maybe use?
I don't think I've heard of other ones. I do like this one. I think generally that is kind of how I go about when I'm doing something in education. Like when I'm thinking about using it to maybe design a lesson or just to bounce some ideas off for something that I'm working on. I think that adding those 5 things does really kind of hone it in there and get you something nice to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Oops, somehow I have an echo. Let's just get rid of that. Perfect. I think we're good. That question that I asked you all earlier, of course, that list was generated by AI, but I also wanted to use my prompt to really just show you well, this is what parts looks like in action. So persona, who am I? I'm an educational technologist. What's my aim? I'm looking for a list of questions that will help teachers. Ooh, there's your recipients. So they can kind of be combined. Teachers assess their comfort level with AI on a scale of 1 to 5. Can you provide a bulleted list? So that's the style, doesn't have to go in order. And those are, I want them to be I statements. So then that's more the theme. So that's an example of what parts look like. Parts looks like. But then no matter what, whenever you are prompting, don't just prompt and paste. This is where we need to be thinking critically. We need to be looking for bias. We need to be looking at hallucinations. AI thinks it's really, really smart and it's really, really confident. And sometimes, yeah, it's not right, yet it sure sounds believable. Any thoughts on that, Jeff? Just either bias, hallucinations?
Yeah, I think we've been saying for a few years now, there's like that 80-20 rule, like let AI carry 80% of the workload for you and save you all that time. But there's always still that amount of time that you need to be able to dedicate to something to check for those things, to make sure it's not being biased. You know, if you're planning something for your classroom, you know your students best. The AI does not. So you really need that human side of it to make it really work for the classroom.
Yeah, human in the loop. I've got that there at the bottom of this slide. And I love that concept, the human in the loop. That's us. I love that you said that. We know our students. But hey, bring it even beyond you. I know, Jeff, our whole team, like we're always sharing different things in AI with each other. Like use the people around you to assess some of the AI outputs that you're getting. And so that's this whole idea of human in the loop. All right, let's do it. Prompting ideas. Hopefully you've got the slide deck open. I know Jeff put the link to the slide deck into the chat because I've got a bunch of prompts that I would love for you to be copying and pasting, and let's see real time what kind of results we're going to get. Jeff, I'm going to put you to work too. Get those prompts ready. All of the prompts that are in the slide deck, we probably won't get through all of them, but they follow 6 main themes. And these themes come straight from the course. How can we do lesson plans and activities? How can we improve our communication? We want to create some relevant and fun materials. How can we use AI to help with assessments? Reading level evaluation, differentiation. We're going to dive into that for sure. And then insightful summaries. How do we use AI to help with that? So that's the topics for all of our prompting coming up. So what I want all of you to do, you've got the slide deck. You are going to go to this next slide. And the first example that I give you, you can copy and paste this over. I'm a grade 9 science teacher in Halifax. I'm about to start the electricity unit. Can you pull the learning outcomes for this unit and create a 10-question fun trivia quiz to get the students excited about what they'll be learning this year? Keep it light and fairly basic. So go ahead and copy that, paste it over into Gemini. While you're doing that, I also want to point out, not only do I give you example prompts on all of the slides, but you definitely want to click on the link that says can be found here. That's a whole Google Doc with even more prompts with ideas, hopefully to inspire your thinking. All right, with that, I'm going to jump over to Gemini. Let's actually go over here. So I'm in my Gemini. Jeff is going to be giving us a nice overview of Gemini, but for now, I just want to point out I've got a few of my prompts pinned because I know I'm going to be using those today. If you don't see the side panel, you just need to click on those 3 lines in the left-hand side. So that side panel, you should see all of your prompts. And I should see Halifax somewhere. I'm not sure which one it is pinned, but I can also search it as well. So this was the prompt, the grade 9 electricity unit kickoff. Jeff, before I go ahead and spoil my results, what do you notice about the results that you were given?
So I gotta look at yours. Okay, so I guess this is one difference. I noticed in the bottom right corner of yours, next to the microphone, yours is set to be the fast mode right now, and mine was set to be thinking. So we do have a difference there because mine was set to be using the new 3 Pro version. So we do have pretty different looking responses.
Okay, but that's a great thing to point out. So those of you out there, take a look right beside the microphone. If you toggle in there, you can either have just fast answer or brand new as of like last week. We can tell our AI to slow down a little. So Jeff, you're slowed down and...
Yeah, it actually built me an interactive like quiz activity built right in. Like, so without me needing to prompt it further to do that, it just built that out, and it does give me an option to do this prompt without the interactive quiz as well. So it's got lots of little nuances from yours for sure.
Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just run it again. I'm going to use the fast version. Hopefully that shows up just so we can demonstrate what yours looks like. Jeff, you guys don't have the Pro version of Gemini though, do you?
No, that we do not.
Okay, so mine, I am using a Pro version, but anything I show you is also available in your version. If there's anything Pro, I'll call it out. But yeah, this is basically what you got, Jeff, right? Like an interactive quiz ready to go,
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. If we look at these questions, I asked for something fun. Would you say that these are like, is this a super fun quiz? Your students are going to go, yay. Something
Maybe
tells me not, right? So I do want to point out, regardless of your prompt, sometimes, and especially when we're looking for fun, we kind of have to spell it out to AI. Like, okay, when I say fun, give me questions that the student can relate to, like maybe skateboarding or, something along those lines. So that was one thing I noticed. As far as the actual content goes, Jeff, are you familiar with the grade 9 science electricity unit?
Not overly. I'm a grade 5 teacher, but
right. So
it seems,
if you are a grade 9 science teacher, if you look through this, are those actually the topics? In my first glance, it looks pretty good, which I was very pleased with. But especially provinces like Ontario or here in Alberta, like where we have new curriculum, it gets it so wrong topics, wrong grade level. So sometimes we have to reprompt it, giving it the actual curriculum. But so far for you guys, it looks like it worked okay. If there are any questions in the chat, please let us know. Jeff, any questions or comments on that first task?
No, I think it's good to go. Let's move on to the next one.
Let's do it. So, like I mentioned, we have all sorts of additional ideas in that Google Doc. If you want to pause here, especially if you're watching the recording and you want to just pause and try out some of those prompts, go for it. Otherwise, let's keep on going and you can come back to it. Class communication. Sample prompt. I am the athletics director at Citadel High in Halifax. The reason I point this one out is it's up to you to decide how much personal information you want to put into your AI bots. Some may feel comfortable. My name is Jeff, and I am the grade 5 teacher at blank blank school. Totally up to you. Jeff, do you often put your own name, personal information when you're doing your prompts?
I don't usually have a purpose for putting my name in, but like to give it context about what I'm teaching and where I teach. So I think that's something I would regularly do, just because it does give it that context of knowing what I teach, like what curriculum outcomes I'm aiming towards, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
we actually just had a question in the chat, which is right on that. Somebody was asking if we can feed in those curriculum documents into it.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to show how we can upload docs I think it's going to be in the next prompt, but short answer, absolutely yes. For that last question that we just did, what you may want to do, or what I often do, I'll just go to the curriculum page and I'll just highlight those outcomes, copy, paste. Like you can paste huge amounts of text in your prompts. So great question. Hold that thought for adding some attachments. We'll look at that in just a second. Perfect. So back to personal information that you put into your chats. Jeff, here's another question. I might be putting you on the spot too much. Do you have a personal use account for your AI and a work account, or do you kind of just merge the two?
I do have separate ones. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I'm doing things related to the workplace, I'm doing them in my work Gemini. But if it's something in my personal life, like I want help, scheduling something or planning a family event or something, I'm using my personal.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Back when we're just working with email or we're just using Google Drive, like I mix my personal and my work sometimes interchangeably. But now with AI, I try really hard to keep, here's my work stuff, here's my personal stuff, because your AI is kind of painting a bit of a picture about you. And so I definitely like to keep those separate. So same,
Great
Jeff.
point.
Yep. Sweet. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to go into this class communication. We're going back to our Gemini. I am just going to do this one just from scratch. I'm the athletics director at Citadel High. Here's the email. And this is where prompting and pasting gets us in trouble. Jeff, have you ever received one of those emails that says, "Hi, my name is your name"?
No, but I've heard the stories though. Yeah.
It's crazy. Usually it's the ones that kind of hide a little farther down. But fair enough.
Yeah, because it does have a little button, like a copy button at the end of its prompt that it shares with you. So I guess it is really easy just to say copy the whole thing. But then in that case, you're bringing over even its questions to you, the prompter. So
exactly. So this is an example. So right here, if we wanted to, let's go back to this. Right here, it may or may not give really good curricular expectations. And this is where, if we wanted to attach the actual curriculum document, we could go ahead and attach it here. I don't remember if I have this one on this computer, but let's go ahead. We're going to upload a file. Let's see what's on my drive. Oh, goodness gracious. You know what? I don't think I have it handy. But I do want to show, you know what? I am going to show you an example. This isn't going to make any sense. I'm just going to attach a special education plan that I happen to have on my drive, only to show what happens when you attach your curriculum documents or any sort of PDF. And now, can you rewrite the email referencing important details from this attachment? Okay. This is an interesting thing that Gemini does that I love and I don't necessarily love. So here's my rewritten email that is referencing my PDF. And it's giving me links. It's telling me exactly where it found the information from my PDF. So that's
even
cool.
setting the page numbers there.
Yeah, exactly. The only problem, so if I were to copy this, or let's share and export this, I want to draft this in Gmail. So let's go ahead and put this into Gmail, which seems fabulous. We go ahead and open that in Gmail and sharing this tab instead. We should see, when we talk about AI saves us time, sometimes we realize, oh, wait a second. First of all, my subject is the reprompt that I gave. Okay. And then it gave me this other stuff. So I'd have to modify that. No big deal. But here's the part. If I'm referencing a document, all of those citations are showing up here. So I'll have to go in and delete all of those. So it's, for what it's worth, just something to be aware of, that's what happens when we're citing our sources. Any thoughts on that, Jeff?
No, I don't think so. And when I type that in, I do see some of like what I consider like telltale signs that something was written by AI. Like there's bolded words within it. The bulleted lists that have emojis beside them are kind of like, if I see something I'm like, oh, that was probably made by AI, because I see like if you get those three things, I guess, all in one, it's a kind of a sign.
Yeah. And the emojis are a dead giveaway. The M dash is a dead giveaway. Sometimes I even wonder, AI absolutely saves us time in some places, but I find in writing, it almost takes me just as long to write something as it would if I did it myself, but it just sounds better. Like I feel like, especially composing things like that. With that. All right, let's jump back. Any questions in the chat or any thoughts on class communication, Jeff?
Not right now. No, it's great.
Okie dokie. This next one, this is my most fun, my most favorite, the relevant and fun materials. This is where
Sorry,
AI...
Michelle, we just had one pop in. There's just somebody in the chat here.
Perfect.
It says, if in the same chat we give it another question about the doc, will it forget the doc's content after several chats?
No. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that so confidently. It shouldn't. It should, as long as you say, yeah, no, I would say it shouldn't. That said, if it does kind of forget it, you might have to reprompt saying, I wanted you to look at that doc I posted before. And AI will get all apologetic. Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. I forgot your reference. But in most cases, it should remember it. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that? Would you agree?
I haven't noticed it remembering content from files that I know in the new Gemini, it's trying to, like, it does kind of remember more of things about your writing style. Or if you do tell it, like if I tell it I have 3 kids, like it might, like later in a later conversation, reference like that it knows that about me or something. I haven't noticed it with attachments though. So I'd have to look into that one further too.
And maybe I misunderstood the question. So in this thread, where I have the attachment in my threaded conversation, typically it'll refer back. Maybe I always have to tell it refer back.
I see. No, it was me that misunderstood. I see what you're saying.
Oh,
Yeah, it
no.
was within a same thread. Yeah, I thought she was like if starting a new chat.
No.
Yeah, you're right. Within a same, I would totally agree. Yeah, if you just carried on the conversation, you could say, ask it to go back to that document. It definitely remembers. Yeah.
But it's also a great point though to know that each of your threads really are separate conversations that aren't paying attention to the other conversations, except for what Jeff mentioned. It just kind of knows who you are, your style. And so it does remember those kinds of things. While we're back here in Gemini, and I don't know, Jeff, if you talk about this when you dive into Gemini, the one thing that kind of puzzles me, I can't delete any of my conversations. So my options are, oh, that was a personal one snuck into my work Gemini. That's okay. I can pin them or I can rename them, but there is no way to delete individual conversations. I can go into my history and delete my entire history, but for the life of me, I have no idea why that was a decision by Google. Jeff.
I got details on this one. Yeah. So I know for me, within my Genespez, I have what you're describing. I can pin or I can rename. Yeah. I also, last time I checked, I was not able to clear my history in my work account. Ooh. But when I'm on my personal one, I can delete threads and I can delete my history, and I can like teach it in my settings. I can tell it like context about me that I want it to know, or I can give it hints on how my writing style to be. So it is a little more free and open in terms of, what settings you use while you're on your personal versus the ones that's administered for us by our employer.
Right. That's really great to know as well. So just be aware you're using a district level tool. So a little bit less flexibility. So awesome. Thanks for that, Jeff. Okay. Relevant and fun materials. I think we're probably just going to zip through these a little bit more quickly. This prompt, generating comic strips, seems like, hey, that sounds like a great idea. Here's a 6-panel comic strip about a bus driver. So we look at the comic strip. It's like, wow, that's really great. Until we look a little bit closer. It's nonsense. Find a seat for but not Patricia sound. And Jeff, how many backpacks is that student wearing?
Yeah, he's holding a seat for his friend. All right, he's holding it for.
So I think a lot of what I'm trying to get across is AI is fabulous. AI is flawed. And we just have to be super careful to watch for things. It's getting better every single day. But my conversation with Gemini, trying to get this comic strip, I said, try again. It still didn't do very well. So in the end, I said, okay, just give me blank speech bubbles. I'll fill them in myself. Not such a bad idea. Now, this was about a month ago that I created that comic strip, but I'm going to go back to Gemini because things have changed. I feel like comic strip creation might actually be better because what you'll see up here, Nano Banana is now on Gemini. I have no idea why they came up with the name Nano Banana. Jeff, do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
But Nano Banana is Gemini's image magic. So when I generated that comic strip like a month ago, if I asked it to make a change, it regenerated the whole comic strip. Well, with Nano Banana, if I say change the cell number 3 and put this in the speech bubble, it's going to go back and only change that one box that I've asked it to change. So it's modifying only pieces of that first image that it creates. So have you noticed a difference in image creation, Jeff, since Nano Banana came around?
Huge, massive. Yeah, I actually just tried your prompt and mine does not have anything that looks like yours. It's like the text makes sense, even the story, no weird double backpacks. I count, the right amount of fingers on most hands, I think. So
that's awesome. Now, the only other thing though with this comic strip, and I'm not sure how yours looks, I'm missing, there's a lack of diversity for sure here. So there's a bias, a racial bias in this. How about in yours, Jeff?
Mine looks okay. I do see there's diversity among the students. The bus driver is a female, so it's doing all right.
That's excellent. That's so wonderful to hear because yes, I know there certainly can be bias, but that's good to know. Okay. Relevant and fun materials. Oh, this was a prompt that one of our team members suggested. I'm a grade 4 teacher with a class of 22 students. Our room contains rectangular desks with chairs that are detached. Please design an image of a simple classroom layout that promotes collaboration and movement. Oops, I'm not sharing the right tab. But you'll see that prompt. The idea that we can describe a space and ask AI to imagine what our space could look like, I think is pretty cool. And the image that it gave me was really interesting. And sure, it may not look like my classroom, but what I loved is it described to me why this promotes collaboration, why this promotes cooperation, how come it's like open spaces. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. to
I got
do.
a spin on that one too. I've seen people take a photo of their empty classroom, upload it into Gemini, and then ask for feedback on the layout of their classroom.
Either an empty classroom or a cluttered classroom. I love this. It's like you knew my next slide, Jeff.
Oh, sorry.
This is a cluttered laundry room that may or may not be my own. It is. Was disastrous. But I put that image into Gemini and I said, help me out. And so Gemini gave me some really cool examples, still flawed. It's still got all of my bottles messy on the shelf. But I have since cleaned up my laundry room. I should have put a picture of my new laundry room, but totally inspired by some of the things I saw in here. So yes, classrooms, laundry rooms, etc. We also talked about profile pictures. We saw Chris's anime picture. Jeff, yours is a drawing a cartoon stick figure, I think.
I asked for the Diary of a Wimpy Kid inspired art is what I went for.
Of course. That's brilliant. And this one is Sesame Street realistic style. There's so many options. Like, what are your students interested in? Like Minecraft, maybe Roblox. I don't know. What are some other ideas for just fun profile pictures?
Yeah, I love the video game related ones. Absolutely. Yeah. I guess I go throwback to when I was a kid, like the Fraggle Rock or whatever. Those kinds of things would be fun to see what it would come up with.
Totally. Yeah. On that note, though, this is where we get into the privacy, the information of our students. We are not uploading our student pictures into AI. I don't know if there's any sort of guidelines or policies about that in Nova Scotia. Do you know, Jeff?
Yeah, it would not be recommended for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And even your colleagues. Like, sometimes we like to have fun, but ask your colleagues if they are okay with you putting their pictures up in AI. Any other thoughts sort of on the safety around image uploading, Jeff?
Not right now. No, I think that's the big one. Like, just not to put pictures of students up would be the main one.
Yeah. And for those of you are new to Gemini or any AI, whenever you go into your new chat, that plus button, that's where you can upload files from your computer. You can upload them from your drive, but that's how you would use an image in your prompt, would be uploading it there first. What do we have next? Let's see. Okay, assessment assistant. I think we're going to just go through these just super quick, just to give a couple of ideas. Jeff, I'm going to put you on the spot again, but creating different types of quizzes, and you can determine the question types and the number of different question types. Like, that's a super cool way to use AI. And then, of course, rubrics, tons of ways you can create rubrics. And then if you look at additional ideas in that doc, there's a whole bunch more. But Jeff, if we're talking about assessment assistants, anything jump out that you would recommend?
Yeah, well, as an elementary teacher here in Nova Scotia, our curriculum documents aren't just like listing the curriculum. There's also a ton of activities and really great questions built into those documents. So to like upload one of those documents into Gemini, say like, please pull some great assessment questions that would match these outcomes. And then, once I get that looking how I want it, I could ask it to make me like versions that are similar. So students have versions that where our activities in class are then going to feel like our assessments. They'll be similar in terms of, the types of problems and the complexity of the numbers and operations and that kind of thing. So definitely like letting it pull from resources that you have access to help it build things that are, fair representations of what you do in class. Yeah,
I love that. And yeah, I think this next thing I want to show might even tie into that as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that. The next topic, this is reading level evaluation. This is where we can get into that differentiation for our students. You take any article, any reading, put it in here, and you can even ask, what reading level would this be appropriate for? And it's going to give you ideas on what reading level and why. But what I love is that we can also change the level or change our assignments or anything we do in our classrooms based on reading level of our students, but just in general, our student profile. So what I want to show you here, slide number 60, it says using the attached grade 5 class profile. And in this case, it says, I want you to suggest a fiction book for them to read. But imagine all of the things we can ask AI to do based on my student's profile. And I want to look at this profile, and you guys all have access to this. This is a fictitious profile, but I think you'll get the idea. We've got anonymous students. So even though this is fictitious, if this were my real class, I am going to code my student names. I'm not going to put in actual student names in this profile. But then I've got a list of their strengths. I've got a list of, okay, things they need to work on, their stretches. Here's some of the things they're interested in. And in some cases, you might have specific diagnoses for your students, and so you can put that in your profile. But if you then are using this profile, so I'm back here in Gemini, and I'm going to just maybe, first of all, share. I'm going to just search for, I think it was book recommendations, right? Grade 5 reading recommendations. So to show you the prompt, I started with adding a file. Using the attached profile, can you suggest some books? And what I like is it reminds me of my student profile. It gives me an example of a book, but then it tells me, oh, here's why I chose that book for them. So whether it's based on their interests, etc. So I thought that's a super cool way to differentiate things with our students. Jeff, have you used Class Profile yourself?
Not in the same way. Your example reminds me of, like, I have definitely, like, a kid will be asking me for a book recommendation and they're not quite liking what I'm sharing. So I say, oh, let's ask Gemini, and we'll say, like, for a student who really enjoyed this book and would like it to be a graphic novel, like, and just get recommendations like that.
Yes.
On the fly. It works nice too.
Yeah, for sure. Love that. Do we have anything else in the chat there, Jeff, that we want to point out before I dive farther?
We had one comment, there's people just talking about what they were getting about the classroom doors. Somebody said it gave a grade 4 classroom, gave me a room with lots of windows but no doors. So just like little funny things that they're getting out of Gemini
Right.
responses.
Yes, definitely not perfect, but still good for inspiration. Okay, the next one I want to point out, this will be the last thing for me, Jeff, and then we're going to turn it over to you.
Great.
Insightful summaries. This is also kind of what Jeff was referring to before. We are inundated with PDFs after PDFs after PDFs, and some of these are so incredibly long. We can now put those PDFs into AI and just help decipher some of that information. Even short PDFs. The example I'm going to give here, using the attached calendar, provide a summary of the special days based on the legend provided. So this is your HRCE calendar, I believe. It's very thorough, but let's go over to my Gemini and let's just find the calendar. Nova Scotia.
I do love that they added that search feature in Gemini a while back. It does make it easier when you have such a long list of old chats that you've done.
Yep. So this is an image. This is an image that I want to extract the text from, and it's this calendar. So can you give me the special days? And look at that. There it is. It's given me a list of the special days. This is cool and all. However, the next step is what kind of blew my mind when someone showed me this. Can you create a CSV file that I can use to import all of those days into my Google Calendar? And so it spits out this, which looks kind of scary, but you just put that into a Google Doc, download it as a text file, change the TXT to CSV, boom, you now have a file that you can now import into your Google Calendar, and you have all those dates.
You can ask Gemini for those steps too. You can say, how do I get this into my Google Calendar? And it will walk you through
Right,
all
exactly.
that.
And now, do you guys already have all of your days inside a Google Calendar, or do you guys use that PDF?
There is an option for us, yeah, to
Oh,
grab that. But there's other, like, if you were doing something maybe you wanted student birthdays in your Google Calendar or something, you could using like the same kind of like coding system or whatever, like student one's birthday is on this day, those
Yes,
kinds of things,
coding system.
just so you don't forget on the morning of.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one, can you provide a summary? Oh, we're back here. Can you provide a concise summary of the attached school trips policy, and also provide key points that affect me most as the school principal within the board? So I believe that was a school trips policy that I pulled from one of the school's websites at HRCE. But that's just one example of all of those big documents that we can make meaningful and we can summarize to help us out in the work we do. With that, Jeff, I'm actually not too bad. I said you'd probably have about 30 minutes, which is
right on.
Great. I'll just go through just a reminder about the course, and then we'll just see. There's Jeff, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Do you want to go ahead and take over screen share then?
Yeah, let me just get that right here. So
and now
that should
I'll be watching the chat. If you have any questions or you want to heckle Jeff, you just let me know and I'll pass it on.
Yeah, and as you've been doing along, like, please do, like, let's keep the conversation going about these features.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna be sharing now is there was a Google Summit that Michelle mentioned on the weekend. This was my slide deck from there. So I had a full hour. So I am going to kind of speed run some of this stuff because I do want to focus on the Google Gems. To me, built into Gemini, is one of my favorite features in all this, but it's also really worth seeing how Gemini is now built into Google Classroom, because that is new this school year. So I'm going to just kind of do a slow build up, because I think they all kind of work on a layered effect here if we go through it quick. So like Michelle's been talking about in Gemini, this is the main Gemini search page, and there are these 4 different tools down here which are helpful to click on in different situations. So I'll just kind of go through those really quickly. So for generating an image, I just put this one in and I gave it a quick prompt. I said, make it so this person's standing on the top of a ski hill, ready to go down, smiling and looking nervous. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's recognizably me. It's more than it would have been, maybe a month or so ago. So the image generation, whether you're asking for that photo to be then changed to anime, like Chris was saying, or, you can get it to change all these different styles. It knows it all. It's pretty fun to play with and see what it kind of can come up with.
Jeff, this is somewhere I want to bring that up. Go back to that image.
Yeah.
This is, I don't see, like, typically there's the little Gemini watermark in the corner, which I don't see on that.
I can see it on my screen. There is.
It is there. Okay, phew. Yeah. But other than that, like, how would you even know that was AI?
It's true. This is like why this AI literacy is becoming so important, even for our younger students, like Chris was saying, because we're in a world where you don't know what's real and what's fake. So, we got to take the time to evaluate and to train our brains and our students' brains to think about that kind of thing.
Yeah. And most importantly, to make sure you're saying, hey, this was AI generated, which you did, of course. But yeah, our students, we just have to teach them, hey, it's okay if you've used it. Just make sure you say you've used it. So yeah, wow, crazy.
Yeah, to make sure the context they're using it is appropriate and that kind of thing. So yeah, having that honesty is definitely a big point of learning. So to keep going through, so, Michelle's been modeling getting it to help draft. With this new write button, it just does something a little bit different. So I just ask it to help me write an email to parents about an upcoming field trip. And when you click that write button at the bottom, so I have my normal Gemini conversation over here on the left, but it gives me this editable panel over on the right. So I can still, over in that left panel, ask it to make revisions and do those kinds of things, but I can make my own changes too. So it just kind of builds in a little bit of Google Doc features right into the Gemini panel. And then up here in the top right, we'll see there's a create button. So in addition to it turning it directly into, a Google Doc, it also offers me these different options for web page, infographic, quiz. So it can take what you've generated, depending on the context, and it can build it into things. That build function, I think there's a whole session that Logix did recently on this because it's so powerful and has so many cool options. So when they say build, they mean it can code stuff for you. So, we keep hearing how AI is getting better and better with coding. So here's a classroom example. I love the book, The Wild Robot. So I said, make me a quiz based on the first 10 chapters of The Wild Robot, present it like a Jeopardy board that's going to be ready. And then I give it context, like be ready for 5 teams. I tell it a little bit about how I want it to operate when I click on things. And then like right out of the gate, I just kind of model this in this little video. This is what it creates. It's completely interactive. All the questions are made. I can award points how I like. If there was something I didn't like about it, I could just ask it in that little chat to make quick changes. I could run this on my projector at the front of the screen, but I could also download this as an HTML file to do what I want with and put it in different places. So just really powerful and so diverse in the way that you can use that tool. So worth tinkering with the build function.
And just also, Chris or Jeff, I love that you've got those graphics, that video. Jeff's going through this super quick, but remember, you guys have access to all of his slides. They're all in the deck. Definitely take some time to just press on those buttons and just discover all that coolness that Jeff is showing. Yeah. So very cool.
Just turn the YouTube speed down a little bit.
I know. Totally.
All right. So for this one, I was looking at that Learn tool. So we didn't get into Notebook LM very much, but I know that is one that like our Tilt team is really pushing, and a lot of more teachers are getting their hands on here in Halifax. I'm not sure of the date, but I know it is going to be opened up for our 13+ students as well. So Google Gemini does things just slightly differently. So if I click that Learn button and I put something in like this, it does pull up these great interactive models, and it gives me, I can click on things to get definitions. So it does a lot of the same great features that Notebook LM does, but it's doing it right within the Gemini window. So it does have some of those other options as well. So then I asked it to turn that into a quiz, and we kind of alluded to that earlier. It turns it into an interactive quiz that you can take part in right there and get quick feedback. So whether you get the answer right or wrong, it's going to give you some feedback about what you clicked on. All right, so that's the basics of those 4 buttons that I just wanted to take the time to chat about a little bit. The next tool that I want to focus on, which I absolutely love, and it's been kind of, I'll be honest, I find it fun to kind of build them and to try and make them work more efficiently for me, is these Google Gems. So if you are in a Google Gemini, and then you'll notice under New Chat, you'll have this section that says Gems. So if you click on Explore Gems, it's going to offer you a handful of them that are pre-made by the folks at Google that you can try out. The Storybook one I will show an example of because it's pretty fun. But then you have the option to create your own gems. You can make a new gem to create a custom chatbot. So this kind of comes back to what we were saying before about being able to preload your AI so that it knows context about you. It has access to files that will help it do its job better. So here, I have a couple quick examples. So in my classroom last year, I had newcomers to Canada, and there was 3 different languages that I was needing to translate for on a pretty regular basis. So rather than going into Google Translate and then like switching between languages, copying and pasting out each time, I made this Google Gem that knows what I want. It knows I'm going to paste in some text, and then I don't want it to have a conversation with me. I just want it to give me those 3 translations. So this is what it ends up looking like. So you can see I typed in this sentence, and then it pops out those 3 so that I can just share that, whether I'm copying and pasting that onto a doc just to display on my whiteboard, or if I'm putting it in Google Classroom. It's just a much faster workflow for something like translating in multiple languages at once.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what, reflecting back on that class profile, so we could create a gem that has that class profile so that whenever I want to go in and ask, it already knows it's there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
This is another one that I've been using. So I just kind of walk around. I have this on my tablet. So when I'm doing reading conferences with my fifth graders, now it's hard to believe, but I haven't read every book in my classroom. So when I go to a student and I want to have a conversation with them, I can just pull this one up and it knows that all I need to share, I don't need to write any of this. It's just going to know it. So I'm going to go into my reading conference gem. All I have to type in is Gordon Korman, a Restart by Gordon Korman, chapter 7. So all I have to share is what I'm reading, and then it will give me a little context about the book. It will give me comprehension questions and like what to look for in the answers. So just like an on the fly, really quick thing that lets me have more meaningful conversations with students about the books they're reading. The last one is a little bit more built up, and I think this is a link for you. So if you're on our slide deck, you can click this so you can see my gem in full detail, because the instructions are quite long. So I give it a lot of context about myself as a teacher and what my literacy block looks like. So how I actually want each lesson to be built out. So by taking the time to build it into a gem and do it once really well, it means I don't have to do it again, because all I have to do next time is just jump in and tell it what I'm teaching. This knowledge section is where you can add in different files. So one of the instructions that I put in was about teaching cross-curricularly. I wanted to bring in science and social studies into my literacy whenever possible. So I've given it the science and social studies curriculum as well as that. So, and then I really like, there are these books by Jennifer Saravallo called the Reading Strategy book and the Writing Strategy book. So I've uploaded in its knowledge the index of those books. So it knows lessons and page numbers of those resources that I like to pull from. So then it's generating me lessons or units based on my curriculum, based on the age of the kids, based on materials it knows that I have, based on technology and web resources it knows that I have access to. Like here in Halifax, through our TILT team, we can get access to things like Pixton or Bloxels. So things like that, it now knows that I have access to. So it's pretty powerful way to save yourself some time later on when you're building things up. So play with those gems. You can take mine and customize it yourself too. So if having those documents loaded in saves you any time, I see Michelle pop that in the chat. So
well, I did.
use it how you will.
You're just giving so many ideas. This now, again, very similar to what we can do in Notebook LM, but so refined. You've got all of your sources, and I love that it's just that easy to share. Is it, when you shared that, how do you share gems? I confess, I don't actually use them a lot.
No worries. Let me just see how quickly I can switch tabs here. Okay, so when I'm in my gems, I'm in my Explore section. So here they are in the My Gems list. So just like the Google goodness, it's just got the share button right beside it. I just hit share, and then it's going to slowly load. There it comes. And then I can just put in a specific person. I can get the link. Awesome. It looks just like it does in Google Docs. So it looks and feels very familiar.
Amazing. Wow. Okay. Very cool. Thank you.
So if you were doing that with like a team of your colleagues, somebody took the time to build one, like share those things out, save each other some time. And it helps promote these powerful tools that we have access to.
Yeah.
All right, one more for the gems. I mentioned that storybook one. So this is using a couple different features. So it's using the coding features that we kind of saw before. So it's going to use its Canvas application to build a storybook. So I gave it this prompt. I said I wanted to introduce fifth graders to one of my social studies outcomes is how people learn about the past. So I gave it some context about what I want the book to cover, and it spits this out pretty quickly. Let me just jump to the live version so I can show you how it's interactive. So this is now the book that it shows. I can just click on the pages. Oh, must be zoomed in a bit. I'm getting cut off. No, it's not normally cut off. I'm not sure why the zoom looks funny. Yeah, you get it. So I can go through, they can go through that book. I can also download this as a PDF. So it's really easy to share in Google Classroom. So for me as a grade 5 teacher, because of the restrictions on age, I can't share this directly as a Google Gemini link with my students, so that I'm able to download it as PDF is what makes it accessible on my end. If you are 13 plus, you do have the option to listen to the story. You can pick the voice, and yeah, it's a pretty great tool. So here I was trying to create like a nonfiction example, and they generate all the art, and I can make little changes to it as well. Like if I want to change the age of a character or the character's name or something, you can do that in just a quick click too.
Yeah, Storybook for sure is my favorite gem. Absolutely. If those of you watching, if you haven't checked out Storybook Gems, yeah, we've lost you now. You're not listening to the rest. Come back later.
They're pretty great. There was another one too that I haven't played with. I run a chess club at my school, and I was thinking that it might be fun for some of the kids to try. And obviously, I would be supervising it because it's we're 13 plus, but to see how well the chess player plays against kids, so that'd be fun to try.
That one I did try it. It was a little bit tricky. Like I think if I remember, you had to tell it the coordinates, so it was a little slower than a chess game, but still, I mean,
right. It's not like an interactive. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the buildup continues here. So we've got our Gemini features. We've looked at how gems create these custom GPTs. Now we're going to get into how Gemini is now found within Google Classroom for us. So this is what my Genespez account looks like. Now in here underneath the home and calendar and resources, you can just click on Gemini. And when you do, it's got this pretty familiar interface. If you've used tools like Magic School, it looks and feels very similar. They've got a layout of different tools that you can use. And these icons mean something. So if you see this the little twinkle, whatever the right terminology is, that is a tool that is going to, if I click on it, it's going to open up a Gemini window. So it's going to open up a new chat with Gemini. And when it does that, it's not just opening up a blank chat, it's opening up a gem that it's created. So its first prompt, by me clicking that, it's given Gemini all this context. So it's going to know so much about it. And it's like, if you read through this, it's got a step-by-step details on how it's meant to interact with me. It's got notes there about universal design for learning. So Google has done it from like as a first iteration of this, a really great job building this up so that it's a tool that it's going to really help teachers get better results without a ton of effort. So definitely, if you're doing some planning, try some of those pre-made gems that are built into Google Classroom so that you can take advantage of that. So all the other icons, whether it's like this one that looks kind of like a list or the book, all those other ones are going to be tools that run within Google Classroom. So for example, on this one about creating a rubric, if you click that, it pops up this window. I can tell it my grade, my performance levels, whether I want it to be out of 4 or 100, like or anything in between. You can give it details of the assignment and what success looks like. Like what are you hoping your kids are going to learn from this? And then by clicking generate criteria, Google Gemini creates the headers for the rubric that it's going to create. So you can make edits to this on the spot. So before you get any further, you can make sure like, yes, those are the things that I want to have covered. And if not, you can make changes and regenerate. So for this one, it spits out this rubric, which is very detailed. I do find that it's very teacher lingo. So it's it's intended for the teacher to use. So you might have to do some editing if you plan on sharing this with students, as we know we should. I've also used this as a base point for my students and I to talk about and to do some editing to make sure that the rubric matches what we were discussing in class and those kinds of things too. Up in the top right where I have it circled there, you have options to export this directly to docs or sheets. Or you could even just put it straight into your classroom feed by adding add to class. So that this familiar window pops up. You can say which class it is, the type of classroom work you want it to be, and how you want it to present. So in just a few clicks, you can get things like, if I just go back a little bit. So in that list of other things, it could be making a quiz that lives inside Google Classroom. It could be writing informational text. So it's got lots of different options for things that it's going to know it's going to use that context that it asks you, like the age of the kids and those kinds of things. All right, so also built into Google Classroom now, when you click the Create button in the list, you've probably noticed that Notebook LM and GEMS are both in that list. So these are going to be 13 plus for us in Halifax. So I've played with this. I've made a Notebook LM, I pasted it into my classroom, and when my students click on it, they get the same message that they would normally get from like a YouTube window. Like it tells them that they're not allowed to view that content.
Wow.
So if you're 13 plus, those are the options for you. So you can, you have some great options. So for example, if you were doing something with a gem, like maybe it was going to be a study guide. So you could create a gem, you could tell it it's going to help your students study for a test. You could give it the slide decks that they've been using in class. And then the student can have that conversation with Gemini in that really closed off, narrow, one purpose only gem. Notebook LM I really think people should check out some of the sessions that Logic has put out, and that I know that Tilt's put out some sessions as well about focusing on Notebook LM, because it would take we could spend a whole hour and a half digging into that. It's a pretty incredible deep tool that we'll just barely scratch the surface of here today. All right, so actually I will just kind of jump over now to just give a very quick overview of what Notebook LM looks like. Just gonna get my tab open.
Sweet, awesome. Before you dive into
I'm watching
that,
the clock too here. Yeah.
You mentioned like Classroom is now starting to look sort of like that Magic School or those other tools, which is incredible. I think the other tools probably are a little bit scared, but speaking about those tools, are there any approved tools that you guys use outside of the general Google ones?
So some of them don't require student login. So as long as students aren't using their school email or their any personal information when signing into some resources, we're allowed to use some of those things.
Nice.
So yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
All right. It looks
Sweet.
like you can see my
Notebook LM.
Oh. Yeah. So in Notebook LM, maybe I'll just pull up one that I was just tinkering with a little bit. So this is a great tool, especially if you are trying to focus on that universal design for learning piece. So that's that letting students access information in multiple different pathways to obtaining that information. So for example, here's one I was just curious on how it would do with area and perimeter, because that's what we were doing in my class. I would give it some more prompts to bring down its level a little bit if it was something I was going to use with my students. But like I said, for fifth graders, I can't use this. But it does generate some things that I'm able to download and use. So for example,
are you sharing your tab?
Nope, thank you for pointing out. It didn't share. It opened a new tab for me. Thank you.
Go. No,
there
totally fine.
So this one looks like area and perimeter. So it's got some texture in the middle. I can add in more files if I wanted to dig deep into those. But over here in the studio, I can see all the different things that it's able to generate for me. So it can make an audio podcast that's about 15 minutes or less. With fantastic real, like it feels real, like it does really feel like two people having a conversation about your topic. The video overview, I haven't played with too much, but I know that if you had a slide deck in your resources and then you did the video overview, it would kind of use those slides as a guide for creating the video.
And
Jeff, things like mind maps, flashcards.
I'm gonna just stop you before you go too far. Let's go back to the audio podcast, because we did have a question. When you create a podcast, we cannot join the debate anymore to ask questions. Did Google delete it with the new update?
Oh,
so
interesting.
So what they're referring to when you have those audio podcasts, there's an option to raise your hand and you actually can like join the radio show sort of. But I did not know that went away.
No, me neither. Maybe they just had to revise some things and it's something that will come back. But yeah, that was a really cool feature that they added.
Yeah. So thanks for asking that question. Brand new information to us too. And I think that's the nature of these tools. Sometimes they change, but we cannot answer definitively why, but hopefully it comes back. Okay, sorry. So now go back. I don't want to take away from
No
all the other
worries.
super cool tools
I
you were going to mention.
just wanted to point out how it allows you to download things. So here I am. I actually didn't click on the audio, so it's just generating that podcast for me as we speak here. But here's the video, and if I click on more, I do have the option to download that file. So for me as a 5th grade teacher, if I was able to make something that I thought was great and it was age appropriate and ready to share, I can download that file and I can put it into the classroom that way. So
Nice.
no, I can't link directly to Notebook LM, but I can use its resources to help my students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to just point out just some of those other resources? Because I know I cut you off. So
Oh yeah,
Mindmap.
sure. Yeah, and then there's quiz, infographics, slide decks, which looks like it's new here. It says it's still in beta. So it would use that that context that it's built to create a slide deck. I know I've heard in the past week or so with the release of the Gemini 3.0, there are a lot of people are really impressed with Gemini's ability to create slide decks just within the Gemini chat. So I assume that this is an extension of that. So
wow,
worth playing with for sure. Save yourself some time generating those slides and themes and all that stuff.
very cool. All
right, and I think we are about at the end of what I wanted to show. I did have a little. How we do over time, Michelle? I do
we're
just
good.
one more little show. All right,
absolutely.
I'll do just one more little show. I did show just kind of like a live demo of this. So I think instead of watching it spin and do its thing, maybe I'll just show the chat as we went through. So by being in Classroom, when I click that created Jigsaw activity, so Jigsaw being just kind of one of those protocols as teachers, you have experts of kids learning about different topics around the room, and then they come back together to share with others what they learned about their expert topic. So as I was showing before about how it is using GEMS basically. So when I click on that for creating Jigsaw, it's given all this context to itself so that it knows exactly the conversation that it should have with the teacher so that it's able to effectively build that tool. So this all happens before I even get started. And then it asks me it's like, tell me a little bit about what you want to do. I use that same example. Maybe I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see a little bit better. There we go. It asks me what I want to do. So I say I'm doing this social studies OCOM about how do we learn about the past. And then it goes through some of these guiding questions, like what level are the students? So I say they're grade 5. And then as we go through, it's asking how long do you want it to be? So I'm giving it context for how much time I want to commit to this. I like that they put it in bold here. I can really zoom in on the important details of this conversation. Do you have any specific preferences for type of resources? So then if maybe I already had a video that I pulled from Notebook LM, or maybe I'm using something like the website Epic for getting nonfiction reading, I can let it know the types of things that I want it to pull from. Letting it know that I have English learners, so I need it to consider vocabulary as something to work around. And then as it keeps going, this conversation, which it's about a 5-minute conversation for this whole activity. I guess I got to zoom out so we can see it all here now. Go back down. It lays it all out group by group. So group A, those people are looking at the artifact and it's suggesting some materials to use. Group B, it's got a whole different activity for those students. So it's putting students off into these groups so that each of those groups can kind of come together at the end to share what they learned from each other. Here we are about the English learner support. So it's giving me recommendations on how to make sure those students are supported with this activity. And it keeps going. We're into day 2. What does day 2 of this activity look like? So it's very detailed and helping you think about and maybe an activity that might be too cumbersome because it was going to be a lot of prep work to get ready for, but it's kind of taking that the blunt of the work for you so that it is ready to go.
Yeah, I love. So that was generated by clicking on the gem inside Classroom. So
exactly.
Just the way that the AI is now becoming integrated and so much of it is right there with Classroom as that dashboard. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wonderful. Well, We have about 5 minutes left. I wonder, I didn't tell Chris we were going to bring him back, but I want to bring Chris back. So we'll bring you back, Chris. Chris, just wanted to bring you back, just if you have any thoughts or things that maybe we might have missed or other things you want to highlight.
Or if I got anything wrong, Chris.
No.
Right.
Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay. No, I want to just say that was awesome, and I hope that everybody who's in attendance is taking something away from this. I know I certainly was, and appreciated the screen shares there, Jeff and Michelle, to show live events of what was taking place in the AI tools. And no, Jeff, you represented HRCE spot on, and with what we can and can't do, and there's we're always trying to kind of see what what's coming down the pipe, and things will change, as we know. And I think that one of the things I just want to clear up for anybody who's in attendance or watching, we kind of said we were going to have Gemini for the kids open for our 13 pluses. We've kind of hit a snag on that. It didn't open up on Friday like we had planned. Google likes to play with their background settings in the admin panel quite frequently and hide things, and it's not as intuitive as you would think. So we're working on that. Hopefully that will be open, and then that will allow the sharing of the notebooks and the gems to students be seamless. Right now, as Jeff said, it's just within teaching by teachers and kind of some backdoors. But I just wanted to say thank you both for a great hour and a half presentation here. It's been great to focus solely on Google's Gen AI products.
Well, and it made me realize we could probably spend another hour and a half and, still not get to the bottom of it all. There's so much, but yeah, wonderful. Well, Chris, thank you so much for allowing us to do this with you. Jeff, thank you so much for taking us through those tools. I learned a bunch of new things, and those watching the recording, who knows what new things have been developed since we recorded this, but it's always changing. It's always fun. Wrapping up, let me just see what I got for you all. If you do have feedback for us here at Logix Academy, how we can make things better, there's a link to that feedback form, which I think Jeff might put into the chat. Oh, he's already one step ahead of me. Nice job. And if anybody needs any support whatsoever, you guys have two rock stars here that I'm sure you know how to get a hold of, Chris or Jeff. But if you do want to get a hold of us at Logix, events at logixacademy.com. We're always there to answer any questions you have. And with that, a thank you again to Sandy and to Google. We don't need to go through all of this stuff again. You guys have all registered by now, I'm sure. But with that, we'll finish it there. There's the link to the slide deck again in case you missed it. But I will say again, Jeff, thank you so much. Chris, thank you again. And to all of you out watching, thanks so much for being here. We sure appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.